podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Who exactly are the football gods? Join us every week to find out.
Yeah, we sit down with famous faces to offer them the ultimate footballing role. Total power over the beautiful game.
From comedians to musicians, footballers past and present, we'll be exploring the big questions. Who's going to football hell? What game will last forever? And how David Seaman influenced David Beckham's style.
He went a ponytail, he was a horsetail. They copied me and I'm well happy with that.
Given the power, how would you change football?
Join me, Kate Mason.
And me, Tim Spears, wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Red, your lunchtime catch-up on all things Liverpool FC on a Wednesday, the day before Liverpool play in Europe against Lask in the Europa League. Not a whole bunch going on today, though one Liverpool player did almost have a massive moment in the Champions League last night, as Fabio Carvalho was denied what would have been a really nice goal by an offside flag. We can just take a moment to just stop and laugh at Newcastle, who were denied what would have been the spawniest of all spawny wins by a very strange penalty decision. But not to worry, we'll be back in that competition next year and they will be in the Europa League. They might be joining us in the Europa League this season, and you would say they're probably the team that would be the biggest threat to us, though I'd expect us to beat them over two legs. PSG could drop in. If they play like they have in this group stage, we'll wipe the floor with them, but there's an immense amount of talent in that squad. To matters closer to home, we finally have some news on Alisson Becker and Diogo Jota, who both got injured in the draw with Manchester City at the weekend. Alisson is set to miss 2 weeks, 4 games. So the likelihood is that Alisson will be back for the United game on December 17th, which will mean he'll miss the last game, which he wouldn't have played in regardless. There's not a chance Ali was playing against Lask. He will miss the upcoming game against Fulham, which we should win even without him. He'll miss the Sheffield United trip. Again, we should win that even without him. And he'll miss the Crystal Palace game. And again, we should win that without him. He'll be back for United. That's the biggest game we've got coming up. He'll miss the Union St. Gelos game. So in truth, it'll actually be 5 games that they'll miss, but 2 of them he wouldn't have played in anyway. And I wouldn't imagine he'll play against West Ham in the League Cup. I'd imagine that will be Queeveen Kelleher. Diogo Jota, though, is set to be out for a little bit longer than that, according to Jurgen. He didn't give an exact timeline on when that might be, but it is a bit more severe, and we have to see. Now, I would still take the news on Ali with just a slight grain of salt, because Jurgen doesn't necessarily like to give bad news on injuries. You know, Thiago's been a little bit away for a long time now. Stefan Bajcetic had a little tiny injury in September. It's almost December and he's not back in training, and there's no sign or timeline on him. But look, hopefully Ali is back for that United game, and hopefully Caoimhín Kelleher can do well over the next 5 games, because this is an extended run for Caoimhín. I mean, when you look at Caoimhín Kelleher's career to date, in terms of senior games of football, remembering he is 25 years of age, he's played 26 senior games in his career. This run of 5 games will mean he'll have played 10 games this season. That'll be the most in his career. You'd assume he'll play West Ham. That's 11. That's the most he'll have played in any season to date. And not just by a game, by 3 games, which doesn't seem like a lot. But when your previous season best was 8, it's over a third of your previous season's best. The 3 Premier League games he's now set to play will be the most he's ever played in a Premier League season. If he gets 2 more this season, he'll have doubled his career total of Premier League games to date. So this is a big moment for Caoimhín Kelleher. He hasn't been good this season. He was not particularly good in the last game of last season. He needs to put in some big performances here. If he wants to earn himself a move away next summer, where he can go somewhere and be first choice and start to show the talent that he has in a starting role, he needs to do well in this run, because it's probably the only opportunity he's going to get at Liverpool. There's a piece on This Is Anfield about the midfield evolution. There's a piece about Jeremy Doku and Trent that claims Doku didn't cook Trent, but kind of did. Piece about Calvin Ramsey taking his biggest step yet in his return. Made his first senior appearance in over a year on Tuesday. He obviously had the serious knee injury last year, got injured at the start of this season, having made the move to Preston on loan. Preston did lose at the weekend, or on Tuesday rather. They were walloped 4-0 by Borough. And he played 45 minutes. So it's a big step for him. None of us really will care about the result. It's just about getting that kid games. What else do we have here? Oh, Bobby Clark injury update. That's good. Talented young midfielder Bobby Clark will have to wait a little longer for his return to action. It's been a frustrating few months for Clark, who has only 5 appearances to his name all season. Having been absent since October 1st, Ian the Doyle reports he is not expected back in action until the new year. That's not great. That's a very talented young player. Very, very talented young player. He is one I think is going to make a first-team impact with Liverpool. I don't know if he ever becomes a regular starter, but if we're looking long-term at what our midfield could be, you've got, I think, Trent and Besetic, that inverted role or that kind of centralised dictator role. That's them. Besetic is the backup to Trent. Alexis as that kind of complementary 8. I think Clark in that role could be very, very effective as well. So you'd have those two. The more attacking, ball-dominant 8, we've got Dominic, we've got Gravenberch. We need a defensive midfielder, and I think we need a second defensive midfielder. We have Endo for now, but you want someone that's going to be there long-term. Talked about Moscardo yesterday, and the more I thought about it after, the more I thought maybe like Mats Wiefer from Feyenoord, who was very good against Atleti last night, even when his team weren't. Him and Moscardo might be the ideal play. 50 million probably gets you the pair of them and boxes that position off long term. So there's 8, and then Curtis Jones can play pretty much any of the roles. That'd be 9. Now, Curtis obviously would be senior to Besetic, senior to Clark in terms of pecking order. But that's a 9-man group for 4 positions. That's ideal. That's really strong. And it has a good homegrown element to it in terms of Trent, Besetic, Clark, and Curtis. 4 players. You've also got Harvey Elliott, of course, who can play that attacking ball dominant role. So there's 10, and 5 of them are homegrown. Still want Archie Gray. That'd be 11, which might be just one too many. I think 9 is the ideal number if you're playing a 4-man midfield, especially when you have like a couple that can play multiple, a bunch that can play multiple positions. Harvey is a second striker, as a backup to Mo behind whoever's the backup to Darwin. That works. That would suit Harvey more. He can play it differently to Mo, obviously. He wouldn't be the goal threat, but he can drop deeper, get involved in the build-up, which Mo will do. Can be a very creative outlet for us in that role. And his finishing has improved immensely. So, you know, he will get more goals as he gets older. You have Jota as the backup to Darwin, saying then Gakpo is kind of can play both roles. He'd be, again, senior to Harvey, but having those 5... Now, it means Luis Diaz is the odd man out, but I don't know that he'll be at the club long term regardless. I have a feeling that he's just going to end up moving on. Maybe not this coming like next summer, but the summer after, I could see him moving on. I don't know why. There's no rhyme or reason to it. Like people say things about it. He hasn't settled in England, doesn't necessarily like the weather, doesn't like the food, doesn't like living in England, doesn't like the English way of life, you know, would prefer more Hispanic culture around him, whatever it might be. But he's the one I think might leave. But the rest is fairly solid. I still want Archie Gray, though. Now, maybe you buy Archie Gray and you convert him into a right back, and that's just what you do. Who knows? But Bobby Clark, I really, really do think that kid is destined to play a decent role for us. Florian Wirtz, French centre-back, and Blackburn teenager linked. So, Jean-Claude Todibo would be a really good addition. Like, I can't actually think of many better additions we could make. He can play primarily as a right-side centre-back. So, assuming Matip leaves in the summer, we're going to need someone to rotate with Ibu, be competition for Ibu. He can also play left side, so he could play alongside Ibu when Virgil needs a rest. He can play as a holding midfielder, so he could play there if you needed him to. He'd be pretty strong. Really would be pretty strong. Adam Wharton is the Blackburn teenager being linked. Now, he's a talented player as well. He has been quite impressive for Rovers. He's 19, playmaking midfielder. Certainly an interesting one to keep an eye on. He's more of an 8, and we're loaded with 8s. We don't really need an 8. So I have doubts that we'd be the team that would go and get him, but he's definitely one to keep an eye on. Yeah, and then Florian Wirtz, I mean, there's very few more talented players in Europe than Florian Wirtz. This is good. Liverpool book recommendations, our top 11 for you. Joanna Durkin's put this together. Ian Herbert's book, Quiet Genius, the story about Bob Paisley. That is outstanding. Highly recommend that one. The Anatomy of Liverpool by Jonathan Wilson. It's brilliant, so do read that. Stephen Gerrard's autobiography. I would pass on that one. I just think footballers' autobiographies are really boring, and that is really boring. So I wouldn't bother myself with that one. Hillsborough the Truth by Phil Stratton. That's excellent. By that one. Red Odyssey by Jeff Golding. That's very good. Bill Shankly's autobiography. It's good. It's interesting because he's an interesting man. George Sefton's book, The Voice of Anfield, yeah, highly recommend that one. Just some good stories in that one. Kieran Smith and Jeff Golding writing The Untouchables. It's excellent. Get on that one. Raphael Honigstein's biography of Klopp, Bring the Noise. It's a good one. Red or Dead by David Peace, I thought was poor. I'm not a big David Peace fan, if I'm honest. But if it's your bag, it's your bag. The Liverpool Encyclopedia, Arnie Balderson and Gudmundur Magnusson. They're the boys who run lfchistory.net. Two great lads. And the book is very good. So do check that out. It's a good list. I would skip on Red or Dead and I would skip on the Gerrard autobiography because I genuinely think it's pretty dull. This is not an easy one to put down. It really is. You'll put it down in your face when you fall asleep reading it. Why passionate Nat Phillips isn't playing for Celtic and what happens next. Not playing because he's not very good. That's why he's not playing. He's not playing because he's not very good. Simple as that. He's not good enough to play for Celtic. And Celtic aren't great, but that's why he's not playing. Doesn't need to be any deeper than that. Sin bins could be introduced in the Premier League as early as next season. So these will be for cynical fouls and dissent. And I know a lot of people are against it. I kind of think it might be decent. I'd like to see it trialled anyway. I'd like to see it trialled and see what happens. So the rules would be that only the captain would be able to approach the referee in certain major game situations. Sin bins for dissent and specific tactical fouls to be trialled at higher levels, and stricter application of laws for mass confrontations, which would mean yellow cards galore. I actually think it's a decent enough idea, so I can get on board with the idea of sin bins. It works really well in rugby. It works really well in rugby. And in rugby, referees properly control the game without having to be the look at me, I'm the main attraction here type of dickhead that we see football referees become. Musilowski's agent has agreement over next transfer. Most clubs in Poland want him, says the agent. I don't really know what's gone on with him. He looks very talented, but people that do watch him in general say he's been quite inconsistent since joining. His manager did say recently that he's been brilliant this year. The level of consistency has risen. So maybe he'll get a look in at some point. He's clearly very, very talented. But for whatever reason, it hasn't translated to him getting involved in the first team. Sin bins could hurt Pep Guardiola. Oh, God. Yeah, well, in fairness, they are the king of the tactical foul. Mohamed Salah has no decision to make as Saudi Pro League hits another low. What's going on here? The Saudi Pro League continues to suffer from low attendances, and with Mohamed Salah attracting interest, there isn't surely no decision for him to make. Al Wada played Al Khalij, and 447 people turned up. The stadium holds 38,000. That's magnificent. Now, neither of them are clubs backed by the PIF, nor do they have, to my knowledge, any big name players. Excuse me, I'm quite tired. But yeah, Jesus Christ, 447 people. That is brutal. Liverpool hot on Champions League star after Man City display amid Thiago transfer update. Liverpool should scout next Sadio Mane with incredible goal record, perfect for Jurgen Klopp. We'll have a look at these. Liverpool should sign competition for Darwin Núñez, who's about to break 14-year-old Luis Suarez record. We'll come back to that one. Rio Ferdinand and Gary Neville disagree on Trent Alexander-Arnold in horrific Liverpool claim. Right, we'll check that as well. Rio Ferdinand, as we know, is a dreadful gang of lads and is generally wrong about pretty much everything. Right, who is the Champions League star? Oh, Luis Openda scored 2 goals last night for Leipzig against City. Sasha Tovaleri, who's well connected within the Belgian game, he says that we're keeping an eye on him. I don't know if that's true. I genuinely don't. I don't see us signing another 9. Now, could he play from the left? Maybe, but is there any balance in that front 3 with Salah, Darwin and him? Salah, Cody and him would probably work a bit better, but then Darwin is better than Cody, so it would kind of not really make any sense. Diaz is a better left winger than he would be as well. So I think if we're signing a left winger, you want to go for someone that I think can raise the level of the team rather than kind of a sideways move. Liverpool should scout next Sadio Mane. Oh, Franquinho, the kid who's playing up at Midtjylland. Okay. So he's got 12 goals and 3 assists thus far this season in 18 games, but he's played only 829 minutes in all competitions. So he's averaging a goal or assist every 55 minutes. I mean, Midtjylland have done really well at producing young players over the last few years. So it might be one to keep an eye on. He's 19, came through the Benfica Academy. He's a Guinea-Bissau international. Santiago Jimenez then is the player they should sign apparently to be competition for Darwin. I do like Jimenez. He's not going to go anywhere in his next move where he's not first choice. There's absolutely no chance he's going somewhere where he's not going to be starting game in and game out. He's a really good player, Santiago Jimenez. Right, what did Rio Ferdinand and Gary Neville disagree on? Trent was awarded man of the match, but Rio was far from impressed with his display. The man of the match was silly. He wasn't man of the match. Rio highlighted his defensive shortcomings. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. That's fair. He definitely wasn't great defensively. But there was some moments defensively that were quite good, but I don't know. Rio's a dreadful gang of lads, so we won't be siding with him anyway. On AnfieldIndex.com, there's a piece about Daniel Mallon, a piece about Florian Wirtz. Allegedly we lead the race for him. A piece about Jamie Carragher. And there is an article based off of the Under Pressure pod, which I assume you've all listened to by now. If not, make sure you get on that. Get on the Songs of Anfield pod with Dave Davis and David Jaggs from the Ragamuffins, and check out the latest Scouted ahead of last. And that's it, folks. That's all I have for today. I will see you all tomorrow. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index And find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Feel the whoa with Listerine at BJ's. You can save $2.50 now on Listerine products like Total Care Anti-Cavity Fluoride Fresh Mint Mouthwash or Cool Mint Pocket Packs Fresh Breath Strips at your nearest BJ's location. Experience the feeling of a million germs zapped in seconds with Listerine. Discount available through December 24th. Save now only at BJ's.